All right, it looks like we're about one after our official start time, so I'm going to go ahead and get moving. We are recording the sessions, by the way, so anyone who feels like they missed something, feel free to take a look at our recording on our website. Today we're going to be covering Outlook basics as our screen suggests, but first just a few bookkeeping options to mention. We're going to be going kind of quickly through the presentation. We do have a lot to cover. And I got a few responses back from our last session on Microsoft Word that also said the same about things going a little quick. Like I said, we do record every session. And if you have any questions, please type them in the questions pane. And I will get to them at the end of the section I'm covering. So not at the end of the presentation. I'm going to try and be a little bit better about going back and answering questions, and we'll see where that takes us. But if you have a question, feel free to type it in the question box, and I will get to it as quickly as I can. Also, just to note, you should check out the new Cornerstone website. We just launched earlier last week, and it's really wonderful. We have a new and improved resource center, which will help you find everything you need a lot faster. We have a document search bar that you can narrow by different field, as well as access to all of our webinar recordings from not just 2020, but from 2019 as well. We're also going to be able to give you print-ready customizable marketing materials and white papers on that website. And we're also going to announce Autopilot. Gives you the ability to never say no to a client. Maybe if you want to write some business that you're not exactly fully appointed for, you can sit back, relax, and let Cornerstone handle it. Feel free to contact us today at that number below there, 513-629-9358, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. So without further ado, let's get into Outlook. Outlook is personally one of my favorite settings in the Microsoft Office suite. It's really useful if you're trying to manage different email accounts and do a lot of more advanced things with email. It's something that basic users can use and pretty much easily understand intuitively as well. So a lot of people think they're masters at Outlook when they've really just scratched the surface. Today we're going to try and cover a lot of what's up here in this ribbon over here, as well as what's going on in the navigation pane. That's this pane on the left, and all of these different tabs as well. We're also going to cover the difference between the calendar settings and the flagged notifications down here. And then we're also going to get into some more advanced settings, things like how to set up different rules and how to also set up different auto forwards and backups for your email. I'm certain if you're like me, you've probably run into this problem where once or twice you've probably maxed out the number of emails you can have. And when you hit the maximum number in Outlook, then you can't send or receive anything. So I'm going to teach you a bit of a way around that without ever actually fully deleting emails. So without any further ado, let's get started. This area up in here is called the ribbon, and that's true across all types of Microsoft Office programs. So we're going to start with the Home tab, and these are things that you can also typically access with shortcuts. You can open up a new email over here. You can create new calendar items through this section here that I have highlighted. And you also gain access to all of the email options here through the delete settings. You can also respond to settings quickly up here, and you have access to quick steps, general rule settings, and tags over here. The only section that I think is really useful in the Home tab is this tag setting. It allows you to very quickly categorize emails, mark things as read or unread, or mark things for follow-up, which is kind of how I keep track of things over here, if you can't tell. Additionally, when you're looking at your emails, you're going to want to select the email that you're looking at, and then edit the tags up here. See how the highlighted section here in this example email from 2019 is selected right now. If I click read unread, it'll mark it as unread. I also have a setting to give me a brief preview of what the message actually says underneath, and I'll get into how to change that here momentarily. Additionally, you can categorize. Categories are really useful because they allow you to add a whole nother search parameter. You can categorize things as red for I need to respond to them immediately, purple, orange, green, blue, and yellow. These are just quick color coding settings, so it doesn't really do anything other than mark it in a category. You can also set a quick link over here, which just allows you to single click on the categories column and automatically mark something one way or another. I like the red category setting because red category means that, in my mind, that it's urgent. So I can mark something as urgent, finish the task I was doing, and then jump back into it very quickly. As you can see, you can also assign a shortcut key through this menu as well. I'm going to rename it urgent, and then I can set a shortcut. Shortcuts are control plus one of those function keys. That could be F2, F3, F4, on and on. A few programs already use the function keys, so it's not something I personally like to assign, but I'm going to assign this one to control plus F2 to mark something quickly as urgent. And I'm going to click yes. Now on my keyboard, now that I've set up that shortcut, I'm going to hit control F2. And as you can see, the selected email went to urgent. If I press F2 again, it removes that coding. Now I've selected both emails in this inbox, and I'm going to hit F2 again, and it marked both as urgent. That's one of the most powerful parts about Outlook is you're able to select wide ranges of messages, and they don't necessarily just need to be right next to each other. The way that you can get around that and the way you can select multiples is by holding down the control key when you click on something. That's just the way you can select multiple things in a lot of Microsoft Office programs as well. So it's a good shortcut to be mindful of. Additionally, in this ribbon up here, you can also access your address book. The address book, if I click on it and drag it over, 1 second, to move a few things out of my way on my other screen. There we go. Gives you access to all of your address book. I'm not going to tear through this in full because I have access to several private client emails and I'd rather not show you. However, it gives access to anything that you've stored in your directory quickly. You can also go to File and New Entry to add a new contact. Then I'm going to place this contact under my example email address, but it says I cannot create entries for the temporary one, so we'll just do it under T. Levine. Because this is an example address, it looks like they've shut off that functionality for me. Sorry about that, so I can't really walk you all the way through it, but it's fairly straightforward. All you have to do is enter the name of the person that you're trying to access, put in any other identifying information, enter their email, and hit OK. After that, you can start a new email to them by clicking the New Email section here. It also, in that pop-up, has the shortcut, which is Control plus N to create a new item. I can click on New Email, and it will open a new email right here. The reason I have to keep dragging those in is because we always use 2 screen monitors, and it likes to pop up whatever I'm opening in a new window on the monitor that you can't see. So that's why it's not popping up, and I'm dragging it back in. But if I hit Control N, as you can see, it opened up a new one without me clicking anything. That's just the new message shortcut in Outlook. Then I can type an email, like let's type this one to ourselves at example@crnstone.com. And then you get the option to CC here. CC is just to include them, basically. It's like tagging someone in a post. So it means anyone in this CC section here will see the email, but they're not the primary recipient of that email. If you put everyone's name up here in the To section, then they will get separate emails as well. So they won't see who else you've sent it to, they'll just see that they received a message. You can also BCC someone here. BCC means blind loop-in. So you can blindly add someone else. I use this if I'm sending out an important email to a client or something, and I want my supervisor to see this as well. I can put them in this section, send the email, and the recipient won't know that I've shared it to someone else. Next, we have this subject line here in our message. I'm just going to type example here because that's the subject, but the subject line is something that you absolutely want to fill out for any email you send. If you send an email without filling out the subject line, the person's just going to get a blank email back, and they'll see that it's from you. They won't see any subject, and a lot of times people don't open it. So if you're sending out an email to a client, you want to at least tell them what the email's about. Additionally, you can type your message down in this message field, which is kind of the whole point of a messenger system. I'm just going to type example, and we're going to hit send here in a second. But the other thing you can access in your messages here is the Insert tab. Insert is where you can attach different files, different Outlook items, attach calendar invites, add a signature if you have that set up, and then you can even insert tables and things. Like I said with Word, inserting tables into anything other than Microsoft Excel is going to be difficult. Excel is really customized and made to work with tables, whereas any sort of other inserted table you add into any other Office program is just kind of going to fall short, in my opinion, of the capabilities of Word, or not Word, I apologize, of Excel. I like to work in Excel for all of my tables and then copy and paste them into anything else. We do that the same way in Outlook as we did in Microsoft Word. We just highlight the section, Control-C for copy, click on where we're trying to paste it, Control-V for paste. And that should be how you're able to insert anything into the body of your email. As far as actually attaching files, you have a few options. You can click on the Attach File section, and then attach files very quickly from wherever you're trying to access. I'm going to attach the Outlook email, or Outlook PowerPoint to this email, and all I did was navigate to where it was, click on the file, and click OK. The other thing you can do to attach files is actually drag and drop them. In the Windows Explorer right quick, I'm going to open up my 2019 webinar series menu. It probably didn't let me because it is in a USB, not actually on the computer itself. But I go into my Outlook folder, and I'm going to attach the other Outlook PowerPoint here. I'm going to click it. I'm going to drag it over to the body of my email, and then I'm just going to drop. And as you can see, the other Tech Tuesday PowerPoint is now added as an attachment. You can add pretty much any type of file as an attachment, and it's good to be wary of what you open as far as attachments go. If you don't have some sort of filtering applied to your email, like automatically filtering out spam, and sometimes phishing emails can get past that even, then you're going to want to be very careful about what you open. Any sort of file type can kind of be disguised as something else. I know someone who opened up just a simple hyperlink, and that hyperlink was actually a link to a virus, and their entire computer got hacked. So just be careful about what you're opening through email. It's not always the safest. Firewalls aren't always perfect as well. So just be careful. When you're ready to send your file, you just hit send over here, and it will send the email. As you can see, it went to my Outbox. The Outbox section over here is something that only pops up if you add rules that delay send time. Typically, things will just send automatically. If you don't have any rules applied to delay your sending, which we'll get to in a minute, I promise, then this Outbox thing shouldn't even pop up. If you do see it pop up, however, and you have no rules applied, you're going to want to go into this next tab in the ribbon. This is Send and Receive. Send and Receive shows the progress of all things that you've sent, all emails you've received, and where things are going. You can also use this section here to just troubleshoot a little bit as to why things aren't sending. You can send and receive all folders automatically by clicking here. Because I have rules applied, it didn't automatically send that email, however. I can send and receive by groups. I could send and receive by that previous category marking that I showed as well through here. I can send based on the email address that I'm using. I can send and receive based on address books. I can download address books through this section. And I can also send all with that little clicker right there. As you can see, I got an undeliverable attempt because my current email address, the example, is completely cut off from all outside access. Typically, if I clicked that send all button, then it would just automatically send everything. But because I'm cut off, it didn't actually send. When you get an error like this undeliverable, that means that your email never went through. So if you get that repeatedly, you're going to want to try and troubleshoot what's going on. If I click the Show Progress button here, I also get access to the Send and Receive progress. This isn't really very useful until you get into the Errors section. This Errors doesn't show completed errors, like I tried to send and it didn't go through. It really shows network connection errors. So if you send something and it just can't even get out of your sent box, that's where this Errors section would become useful because it'll show you the error code. If you put that error code that would pop up in here into Google, then it should tell you exactly what's going on with your error code. You could also put that error code into the Microsoft main site, and it'll tell you what's going on. You also have the ability to download headers and other sections as well. These headers are kind of like the well, I can actually open an email and show you. When it says header information, it refers to this grayed out box over here. I'm just going to draw real quick to show you exactly what I'm talking about. This section up here is a header. So it'll show you emails, subjects, and who sent and who received, as well as the sent stamp or the date there. I don't really think downloading headers is very useful because it doesn't really give you context. I'd rather personally back up all of my emails and be able to fully review them. So we're going to exit out of that. You can also access sort of online preferences here. You can also choose to work offline, which I'm going to choose right now. That'll disconnect your Outlook mailbox from the overall server and network. So anything you hit send and receive on, like I'm going to go home and create a new email now to example, and then subject sent, and hit send. Then I'm going to go into the send and receive and do the show progress. Now it says it's completed sending here, but as you can see, I'm working offline. If I hit the send all button there, it gives me an error. It says you don't have appropriate permission to perform this operation. If I go into task, it tells me there's an error. The reason it's giving me that error is because I've marked it to work offline. If I undo that, then as you can see, it's actually telling me real quick. If I go into my send all button, then it'll tell me it's undeliverable. Anyway, the next section we're going to go through is the folder section up here in the ribbon. And the folders gives you more control over exactly where you're placing folders. You can click New Folder up here. The shortcut for that is Control-Shift-E. And it'll let you open up this new folder editor. If I name my folder, I'm going to name it Example 5. Oh, it looks like our screen is frozen, actually, unfortunately. Thank you, Jennifer. That is very strange. I'm going to real quick turn on and off my screen share. Huh, strange. It looks like the screen is frozen. That is very weird. Oh, there we go. It's working again. Sorry about that, folks. Anyway, like I was saying, if you click on the New Folder section up here in the left-hand corner, then it'll open this menu. Thank you again, Jennifer, for letting me know. I appreciate it. I can name the folder whatever I want to name it. Like I said before, we're going to call this example 5. And then I can choose where I'm going to put the folder in this menu. I can put it under my example inbox, and I can actually also place it under different folders. I'm going to put this one under the example folder, which is actually located under my example 1. I know that because, well, actually, I'm sorry. It's located on its own under inbox, but as you can see by example 3, I could even place folders under that, and it actually goes even further. I can place it under example 3, hit OK, and I can multi-tier my folders. This really helps with organization. So for example, on my computer, I have a folder set up for my commissions contacts, and I have it set up under my coworkers, Leslie and my coworker, Joyce. So any email that I get from Joyce or Leslie pops up under the commissions folder, and I click under that, and it shows me which one of them sent the email. Then I can click on their actual folder, and it'll show me all of that separate inbox. You can actually set these up to auto forward, which we're going to be covering after we cover the view tab, which just sort of shows different view options. Now, as I said before, I have previews turned on. You can tell that because if I click down here, it shows me sort of the preview of the message's contents. In order to enable that, what I did is I went to change view and I clicked preview. Now, preview is different from something that I actually can't show you called the reading pane. If you look in the ribbon, it is grayed out under the layout section. We have that fully disabled here at Cornerstone. And the reason that we have that fully disabled is because if you open a message in quote unquote the reading pane, then it actually opens the email. And if it's a phishing email or spam or something that gets sent in error or anything, then that actually considers the email opened. And any sort of viruses attached to it will actually attack your computer at that point. So we have the reading pane disabled. I'd highly recommend doing that for you as well. That's different from preview because preview only shows the text of the message contents. Personally, I typically keep things on the single setting over here, or the compact setting, which allows a few more options up here in this little header. In order to turn it off, all you'd have to do is click on the drop-down and then click off. As you can see, I've just turned off my navigation pane, but I like to keep it at normal personally because it helps me navigate through everything. You would do the same thing in the reading pane section that's grayed out. I can't even click on it, so I can't really show you what it means. But this view section really gives you full control over what you're trying to view. You can also click this button up here, which I think is really neat, called Show Conversations. If I'm going to hit in this folder or all folders, I like to select all folders if I'm applying a setting. And what that does is it actually lumps emails by conversation. So any sort of multiple follow-up email, and it's going to be difficult to see on this because I can't send or receive, it actually tiers them. A good example here is this email. See how I clicked that drop-down? That shows all the past messages in this conversation between my Microsoft Outlook example as drop-downs underneath the conversation. I think that's a really useful setting, and it's something that people don't often utilize. If I turn it off, I just click that button and then click all folders again, and it turns off the group setting. I can also add or remove columns for the arrangement of this header over here in arrangement. If I hit add columns, I can add, for example, auto forwarded to this show these columns in order setting, and I hit OK. As you can see right over here, the auto forwarded section is popped up. That's something that we get into rules, which, like I said, we're covering next. You can also open a new window here to open a completely new window of Outlook. And you can also open the reminders window. The reminders window is just several different reminders that you have. It's different from the flags and other notifications. Anyway, auto forwarding is something that you can set up as a rule. In order to access your rules, you go into your file settings over here. After that, you have this option right here under the Info tab to edit your rules and alerts. If I click on that, you can see I already have some rules applied. This is that middle section in here, and I'm going to mark that real quick with a pen. That's right in here. This section just shows you all the active rules. You can actually turn rules on and off from here as well by just clicking on the box over here. On this computer only one, client only, example user client only. This client only setting right here shows that I'm only applying these rules to the inbox, for example. The for other computers setting here means that it'll apply to all email boxes, for example, on all computers that I access this address from. So I have that turned off. I like to apply my rules by computer personally, just because I think it gives me more managerial control sort of over everything. As you can see here in the rule description section, which I'm going to circle again, this shows the content of the rule that you've created. As you can see, I have applied this rule only after I send messages from this computer to defer delivery by 3 minutes. That means that any email I send from this computer, I send on a 3-minute delay. And I find that very useful because if I, for example, forget to attach an Excel document, which I do quite often, I can go back into the email that I've sent in that outbox and just reattach it the same way I'd attach it to any other email. Just to show you real quick, I'm going to hit send and receive and send another test email to example, and the subject will be attached. And I'm going to hit send. Because I have that 3-minute delay, it opened up this outbox here in this section. Then I go to the outbox, double click on the attach, and then I have the option to reattach my items. If I go into my folder, Tech Tuesday 2020, Office, Outlook, I can easily drag and drop that into the attachment and hit send again. As you can see, now it has the attachment attached. So that's why I like to defer delivery. 3 minutes is a little long. So if you'd like, you can also delay it a little less, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that email. That's the other thing. You can stop emails from sending altogether. I'm going to go back into the rules section here. And actually, it looks like we have a question here. I will address that in a moment, Jennifer, I promise. But anyway, the example here rule says to apply only messages arriving from example user and add it to the example folder. So you can do a lot of different things with rules. You can click this to enable rules on all messages downloaded from your RSS feeds, which means any sort of messages that you import as well. I personally don't click that button because I like to manually manage that. But in order to add a new rule, you're just going to click on this new rule button up here. It's right above the rule window, actually, and I'm going to click new rule. This brings up the rules wizard, which sort of walks you through how to add any different rules. Because I already had a rule selected, it automatically jumped me into this rule under here. So I'm going to actually hit cancel, click off of the rule, and hit new rule as well. This rule is going to apply to messages that I receive, because I want messages that I receive to, well, actually messages I send, my apologies, because I want to delay messages that I send. And then I'm going to click next. But as you can see, you have a whole lot of different options here. You could move messages from someone to a specific folder. move messages with specific words to a subject, in the subject actually, to a folder, which I do for Tech Tuesday. Anything that I receive that says Tech Tuesday goes to my Tech Tuesday folder. And you can also automatically flag things for follow-up as well from people. You can also display emails from someone new in the alert windows, or you can even send messages to your phone if you get an email from someone, like your boss. That way you get notified even outside of work. I'm going to hit next, however, to apply the rule to messages I send. Here it gives you a wide host of options. Anything that's blue and underlined in this condition setting here is the part that you can change in the rule. I want to apply this to this computer only. So I'm going to click that. And I want to apply it to anything at all. That's why I clicked the computer only. However, you can also apply it to things that uses a form name, file size restrictions. So like if you add an attachment, you can set that file size for the email to only apply delays to things without attachments based on that category there. You could also delay things from a certain category, or you can do things based on specific words. So you can really get as custom as you want. But I want this delay rule only applied on this computer. Then you get into more specific things. This is where the defer delivery by a number of minutes section is. It's the bottom option on the rules wizard, but it's also the flag message for an action in number of days, clear messages categories. You can do really whatever you want through here. And this is the section that's going to be different based on the two things you've previously selected. This is what pops up after I select applying rules only on messages I send from this computer. So you'll have a lot of different options here. I'm going to click the defer delivery by a number of minutes. And now I'm going to get into this step 2 section. As you can see, our previous two selections are popped up. But if I click the blue section here, it opens up a submenu. The submenu differs between whatever you select. Because I have a delay applied, I'm going to delay sending by 1 minute this time. I'm going to click OK. And as you can see, that updated the defer delivery by X number of minutes to delay delivery by 1 minute. I'm going to click next. And then I can actually add even further options. Like I said, it gets a little complicated. You can add exemptions to this. For example, I add exemptions to anyone in my section, so I can just instantly send emails to them. I like applying examples to specific people. However, you could also do it with unless it, say, is a specific file size, or except with specific words in the recipient address, or except if assigned to a category, things like that. I like to apply exceptions based on people, however, so I typically select the except if sent to people or public group. And then if I click on this option, it'll give me access to all of our things in the address book. I could also manually type an email address in this to section here for a rule as well. But I'm not going to add that to this rule. I can unclick this, and then you can just continue clicking next as you click through these options to make a rule as complex as you'd like. I'm going to hit finish, and it'll give me this little option here. Because it's a client-only rule, it will only process when Outlook is running. I'm going to click OK. And now we have this rule down here. On this computer, one client only. This is the one that we created. It automatically marks rules that you create as applied. So I'm going to turn off that example rule real quick by clicking on that checkbox. And then I'm going to hit apply. What apply does is it automatically applies all of the rule changes you've made. If you click on different enabling rules up here and forget to click the apply button, it won't apply the rule. So that's something to be aware of. Additionally, from this file section, you can back up all your emails. I do this through the mailbox cleanup setting and archive. archives are something that's really useful. However, it's also kind of a double-edged sword. If you use an archive, make sure you use an archive on a secure mailbox. A lot of people in the insurance industry, myself included, have backups enabled just to review all of our things. But if we get hacked, then a hacker can actually access this archive. It's a big security risk. What I do is I store my archive on the Cornerstone Secure Drive. So you're going to want to make sure that you actually archive or back up all of your emails to a folder or to something that's actually secured and approved by HIPAA before you add an archive. I'm going to edit this archive settings here through this window. I can choose to archive just the inbox, or just the example folder back here, or the sent items. The one drawback about archives is you can only archive by one tier at a time. What that means is I can only select inbox or sent items or deleted items. So if you want to archive everything at once, you've got to put all of your like sent items and all of that under your inbox in order to actually archive it all in one go. I like to just archive inbox, then archive sent items as two separate archive settings. But you could also set your folders to auto archive. So it's really what you like. You can choose to manually select things that do not get archived from their individual message menus as well. And you just click this button here, and that enables items to be included that even say do not archive. Other than that, I don't really mess with that little button down there. But then I click this drop down and tell it the date that I want it to archive folders from. I'm going to click the including items with do not archive and hit OK this time. I'm going to hit yes, go to home, and it is still not really archiving. I think, oh, there we go. It just took it a minute. When you do the archive, if you go under the archives, it automatically opens it in your folder, and then click the inbox. Then it'll actually show you all of the emails in your archive. Another thing that is very useful is that you can drag and drop your old emails from your archive back into your inbox, and then they're back. So that way you can save all of your old emails. If I go back to the inbox, as you can see, I still have my emails here, but only emails from after 2019, I believe, or 12/31. This one I believe I marked as non-archivable. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on the Archives button, click on Inbox. No items to show. That's strange. Let's try the archive one more time using a slightly different setting because I clearly missed some archived items. If I go into my cleanup tools and hit Archive, I'm going to archive this folder and all subfolders. Click on Inbox, which includes, that's probably why. I'm going to actually archive all of my sent items this time. Or actually, let's do, oh, that's why. It archived the wrong thing. We're going to archive examples, and we're going to archive the inbox this time. We're going to choose any email that came after January or before January 1st, 2020, and we're going to hit OK. That should have done the archive setting fully. If I go into Home now and go to the inbox, I see that here. I'm going to close my archive, and then I'm going to reopen my archive. The way you reopen archives is going into File, Open, Import. And then you're going to import from another program or file. It automatically gets selected, and then you're going to hit Next. Next, you're going to choose what type of file you're going to pull in from. As you can see, you can import a lot of different options. Any sort of archived email data is going to be stored as a .pst file, which is this Outlook data file section down here. I'm going to hit Next as well. Choose the file to import. I'm also going to allow duplicates to be created of this archive import. And then I'm going to hit Next. As you can see, the path seems incorrect, so I'm going to hit Browse, go to the test archive, and manually select the item. Then I'm going to hit Next and Finish. What that does is if I go under my archives, looks like we're actually having some problems on this computer with the archive setting. But if you follow the status that I walked you through, you should be able to open it and should be able to import and export all of your email data. I will troubleshoot this and get back to you all to see what exactly is going wrong here, because I tested it earlier on this computer and I know it worked. It's possible that some of my settings were changed prior to this presentation, however, so I do apologize. Anyway, the next things we really have to go through are just general navigation. We have access to this Mail tab here under the navigation pane, which is what we've been using for all of this example stuff here. However, we also have access to a bunch of other things. If I go under my calendar setting, that'll show all of my calendar settings. Currently, I have it set to day, and there's nothing really private set up for today, so I'm going to keep it here. But you can go through the Home tab here to change the different view. You can show it a work week schedule, a full week schedule, or you can view your schedule by month. If I click on the drop down here, I can show it in different varying degrees of detail. The show low detail setting up here shows only all day events. That's kind of what we're seeing here already. The medium detail, however, adds the Queen City room, Natalie Meyer, that sort of detail. So it shows the organizer and the room. High detail will actually show you the entire contents of your calendar setting. So I'm not going to click that. We have biometric cleanings going on, or biometric screenings going on today. And as you can see, I also scheduled the start time for our Tech Tuesday over here. You can add a new appointment by clicking on the New Appointment tab here under the home screen. And that will open up this menu here. You can invite attendees by clicking on this option, and that will open up the full message setting. You can basically send calendar invites and requests the same way that you would any normal email. The only difference being you can also add locations here. If your company has different rooms set up, you can click on the Rooms tab and gain access to those. But Cornerstone doesn't even have those set up. I can type in things like different restaurants, like this time we're going to just type Cornerstone. But you can add locations in here and your recipient will see that. We're going to send this to the example email. And we're just going to type a general descriptive body test. I'm going to schedule this appointment as well. So as you can see down here under the normal send settings, we have a start and end time and a date. We can set dates out as far as we really want. I don't believe there's any limit to it, but we could set it on like September 1st. And then we can choose start and end times using this drop down here. You can also manually type it as well. So I'm going to choose 12:01 as our start time as well. And you get that by clicking on the drop down, choosing a time, and then using the arrow keys on your keyboard. You can sort of scroll through them. Up or down automatically changes things by 30 minutes, or you can just backspace over it and type whatever start time you'd like. If you click off without typing anything, it'll default back to what it originally was. You can also add people besides the to section there by clicking on your address book, searching them, and selecting them. You can also add different recurrences over here in this option menu. That's something that I do a lot. I have my Tech Tuesday reminders set up on recurrence for every Tuesday at 9:30. So that way I just get a little notice and I know, oh, it's time to go upstairs. You can then go ahead and hit send here. I'm going to choose to send anyway, but you can add your subject in here so they know a little bit more about what your meeting is. And then it'll send the invite. Like I said, because things aren't fully connected, I don't really expect this to go through to my mail. But oh, it managed to get through this time. If I double click on that, then it gives me the ability to accept, make a tentative request, or decline this invitation. I'm going to hit accept this just so you can see what it does. And then I'm going to hit do not send a response. Whenever you click the send response settings or edit response, you want to be sure that you click the right one because it allows you to edit a reply message. You could also have clicked just the send accepted, and it would just give them a notice that you accepted the invitation. I'm just going to type test here and hit send. I believe because I sent the request from my personal email address, it actually sent out, but in 3 minutes, we're probably going to get a notification that, oh, an error occurred. And Tom actually doesn't know that we accepted that test request. If I go back to my calendar, I can jump forward to August to actually see that email or that calendar notification and edit it that way as well. But that's generally calendars in a nutshell. You can scroll through your calendar month by using this section up here. I circled it right up here. You just click on the arrows to jump through, and then you can select a day. And this is actually different from your tasks setting. If I click on tasks, it'll show me all of the tasks that I have in full detail. Tasks are things that you flag for follow-up. So you just click on the flag date over here, and it'll add it to the tasks. I can double click on the task here, and it'll actually open up the email that I've flagged. This is very different from a calendar request because you can share and add people to calendar requests, but you cannot share and add these little flagged arrangements here. This is really just for helping to keep track of everything. It looks like they might have actually reconnected example user during this presentation, so that's why that accepted notification went through. But even in your mail section, you gain access to this little flag tab. So I don't really use the full tasks setting here in the navigation pane often. Up over here in the calendar and tasks panes, even from mail, you have quick access to anything recent going on in your calendar as well. So you can very easily jump through and edit things. Also, you have access from the home section here to quickly create and manage rules as well, like I said. When I get emails, that kind of thing. I don't really like using this section if I'm going through rules because I like having all of the advanced options, which you gain access to by clicking advanced options from the get-go. But that basically covers all of what you really need to know about Outlook. If you have any other questions about Outlook that I didn't cover, please feel free to post them in the questions section or send me an email directly at tlevine@crnstone.com, and I'd be happy to answer them for you. I can also play around here a little bit with the archive settings if you'd like. I think that generally the reason that it didn't work is probably because of dating settings or other sort of settings that might have changed on this computer since I did my test on Thursday. We're having a lot of updates in our office right now, so that could have also caused a problem. But once again, to archive, all you'll have to do is go to your file setting, click on the cleanup tools, click on archive, and then change your settings for what you want archived here. That's generally how it works across all folders as well. Okay, I actually had another question here, by the way. I'm going to get to it in 1 second after I finish covering the archives question. That's a very good one, by the way. Anyway, so you can drag and drop across the archive very easily. If I drag this back into my archives inbox, I can just throw it in the archives inbox. But this does actually re-add the file space that we saved up by archiving as well. So a lot of times I'll save my archive and then close it. In order to close it, I right-click and hit Close Archives. That actually brings me to another point that I didn't cover. Whenever you're adding folders or sending or receiving anything in these panes, the reason I don't find the home pane that useful is if I right-click under inbox, I can add a new folder, or I can add or remove it from favorites, or do everything just by right-clicking on the actual folder in the pane. I didn't really cover that originally because I'm pretty good about that. Most people tend to right-click when they're trying to get into the settings of things, but that's just sort of a tech-savvy kind of thing. Either way, I closed that archive, so in order to get the archive back, all I would have to do is go to that file, go to open, import from another program or file. I looked at a file, and then I'm going to replace duplicates, hit next, and then hit finish. And now, as you can see in my inbox, all of what I had archived is back. That's generally how you would do that. The first question that we had was how to increase the size of emails you can send and receive. Mine seems to cap off at 10 megabytes. Unfortunately, that's sort of an issue with Outlook. The 10 megabyte file size is sort of the hard limit. You can change that, but you really have to get into your server settings and not into your Outlook settings in order to change those sort of email limits. So unfortunately, there's not really much you can do about that, unfortunately. Really sorry about that, Ruth. I wish I could help you any further. But if 10 megabytes is the limit on your email, that tends to be something that you really can't edit unless you're a full system admin. We have another question here, this one coming in from Larry Reed. And yes, you can absolutely double check my seminars. They are available on our YouTube channel at Cornerstone, or you could go into our website and find them all under our resource center. Actually, that's probably a very good thing to walk you through right now. So thank you very much for your question. If I go to our website address, www.crnstone.com, and hit enter, then it'll load up our new website. And I can go under the Resource Center to Webinar Series. And then it has all of our webinar series set up here. If I click on the Tech Tuesday Access Recordings, then it shows all of our recordings, and these will link to all of the recordings that I've made on any of the webinars I've made from 2019 forward. Outlook Basics probably won't be uploaded yet, by the way. But thanks for asking. If you have any other questions, please feel free to type them in the box. I'm going to be here for the next 5 minutes as well. So if you have any other questions, I'm absolutely happy to answer those. And like I said, please remember to access our Cornerstone website. Also, make sure to look out for any sort of bonus opportunities we're offering. I know we're doing a sales contest right now too. So if you have any questions about that, please let us know. No problem, Larry. I'm always happy to give these seminars as well. And like I said, any other questions, if you don't feel comfortable asking them right now, please feel free to send me an email directly. My email is tlevine@crnstone.com. Just make sure you enter the what's it called? The subject, sorry. Enter in the subject Tech Tuesday because I do filter by subject line. I'm really sorry. I think I actually accidentally clicked off of someone else's question. I think either Elizabeth or Ayani. If you could please type that question back in. Unfortunately, I don't have access to it anymore. Sorry about that. I'm still getting used to the questions pane. Here we go. Sorry about that. Oh, I don't see the BCC option in my email. How do I add it? Very good question. If I go to a new email like this, typically on mine, because it's the example formatting that I've had, I automatically enable it here. But another good way to get there is in your CC options, you can right click, here we go. If you go into the send and receive sections here, click on like the to or CC settings, and you should see it down here at the bottom. After the first time you've added it, it should automatically pop up in emails. So go ahead and give that a try and let me know if it worked out for you. Actually, we will be doing a lot of other review sections, by the way, Ray. And the new website is really, really useful. I really can't go through all of the different things that it does, but I can show you where to access AGB because that changed. AGB is our system to automatically go through and do access your commission statements. So I would go to www.crnstone.com. Go to our resource center here, or what we offer actually, and click licensing commissions. From here, if I scroll to the bottom of the page, there's this AGB commission statement section, and I can click access, and it brings it up. And no problem, Yanni. Thank you very much for checking that. I was pretty sure that was how it was accessed, but I just wanted to make sure. And now I have the full questions pane open. So if anyone asks anything else, you can go ahead and type it there. But we are getting the end of my webinar time today, unfortunately. So I'll be getting off. Like I said, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything tech related, please, please, please feel free to email me. One last time, my email is TLEVINE@crnstone.com. I'm always happy to help with any tech-related questions you might have. And if it's outside of my range of expertise, I will find a way for you to find out. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed today's Tech Tuesday. Next time we start actually with Excel, which is one of my personal favorite topics. Last year we did sort of a brief run through, but I don't think we really got as deep as I wanted to go. So we're going to be doing it as part of a 3-webinar series. The first one will really cover basic general navigation. But then after that, we're going to get into things like programming different actual formulas into your macros, or not macros, but into your worksheet, and programming in other different automatic options, giving you access to the full abilities of charting, as well as pivot tables and other sorts of really neat things. So if you're interested in Excel, or generally how to use Excel, that's going to be very useful for you. Like I said, my email address is TLEVINE@crnstone.com. And thank you very much for attending. Have a wonderful rest of your day.